have 4 minutes, and let me get this together here over here.
She's got a new toy.
Yeah, I do, and I'm like, and I heard what Tom said. I need instructions. I have instructions.
No, I genuinely meant we should have had a training on it.
Yeah, because I'm confused here.
I wouldn't possibly be able to help you right now, so
Okay.
I'm that for myself.
Okay. I got it.
Just old fashioned there.
I think I have it. Number 1. Okay, you have exactly 4 minutes to speak. Each person who is that I call your name. If you haven't filled out one and you want to speak, you must have one of these slips to speak. 4 minutes. 4 minutes, okay.
Mr. Jackson, do you hear that the yellow light will come on?
And the 1 minute, yeah, the 1 minute. And am I supposed to hit that or what I'm supposed to do?
No, it's just.
Let it go, and then when it hit this here, I didn't know it was a pop-up.
See?
There you go.
I'll give you a hard time.
Angel, how are you?
Okay, my name's Angel Heil, and I am a mother of 2 children in recovery. I'm here on behalf of those in recovery, still fighting, and looking for places to go. I know that there's issues with housing right now, but let me just tell you a little bit about the housing. 15 years ago, I started out with 2 of my children being active use together. They decided to go separate paths, and my daughter decided to go cold turkey, quit everything. But my son, on the other hand, was hard-headed and didn't want to listen and had to do it his way. 10 full years, I had to fight with him. I did everything a mother could do to get him into recovery. But what the problem was, it wasn't just him that needed it, it was me. But having him in my home, there was no structure, there was no support, there was nothing. When he finally went to go get help, I set up boundaries for myself. I set up boundaries that he wasn't allowed to be in my home. But without these facilities, treatment homes, recovery houses, he wouldn't be here. If he was denied access to have a home, to be able to stay in where they have structure, where they have meetings, where they're able to go get the help. Mental health is a serious issue. And in these recovery houses, they're able to connect to them resources. And to hear that there's trouble within our city with these recovery houses, it's appalling. Until you have a family member that overdoses and almost dies, or you have a person who does overdose and dies due to the lack of assistance, due to the lack of recovery houses, then you would understand. I'm not up here, thinking I don't understand what other people's doubt is. 15 years ago, I didn't believe in anything about recovery. I felt if you were an addict, you were a druggie, you were a junkie. I didn't believe in all that until it hit my home. When it hit my home, that's when I realized we need more help for these gentlemen, these women, these ladies. They're not just children off the street. My children came from a well-rounded home. We supported our children in everything. They chose a path. One was got addicted because they were given prescription drugs for an automobile accident. The other one was given drugs from somebody who said, "Oh, just try it." These recovery houses, you sit here and see people here, who's been where I've been, praying to God that somebody would open up a door for my son. The only thing I can say is, before you all start thinking badly of these homes, open your hearts and talk to someone. Ask a mother, ask the substance user themselves. My son is not a sex offender. My son was a lost child. And I will stand up every single day for everybody in recovery.
Okay, now, I don't know what to do. Then you hit one, it goes to the other.
Like what?
Okay, yeah, I see what it is. I see it now. It's not completely done, so you have to wait till this is completely done.
No, you can
No?
just, this should be a reset.
Turn it off and turn it back on.
Is there a reset?
It's a
button?
reset, but I don't.
There has to be.
Okay,
There we go.
here we go.
So this will be,
Here you go.
this will be a reset.
What I hit this, it didn't do anything.
He says that.
So I got it at 4 now. I got it at 4. We have Brian, is it Perez?
Yes.
I won't take up much of your time, and excuse me for looking at the phone. I just made some quick notes so I wouldn't forget anything. My name is Brian Perez. I am here in support of recovery housing, and to be more specific, Tish's Homes. I am a convicted felon. I've struggled with mental illness, and I just share this because I want to help shatter some stigma. So this is what it looks like. I came out of recovery housing. When I speak about myself, it's only to show what a person from recovering houses is. I've worked in this community and this field since 2019. I've volunteered, been active in the community. I've sent a countless number of people to treatment as well as distributed Narcan in our community. I've known Tish since then and had become to trust her and become a friend of her because I know what she does, what her programs are like. And I don't say that lightly because there's a lot of stuff out there, but it's a solid, well-trusted in the community program. She has saved a lot of lives. Drugs are everywhere in this community, everywhere. I've been on the front line since 2019. I'm in the streets every single day. We need to match that with recovery. We cannot start pulling resources away because the drugs are going to stay out there. Less recovery beds means more deaths. And when I say that, I don't say that lightly because these people are not, every life's important, but they're not from overseas, from some country we've never heard of. These are our brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, children. If you take away the recovery homes, you're going to have more deaths. And I can say probably, I'm sure everybody in this room has been affected by addiction in some way, but that could mean that that person you're thinking about, if they're still here, they could not be. And just, I heard something about maybe the requirement of protected information to be shared with the city as far as like people's diagnosis. We just can't do that. It's protected and there's HIPAA for a reason. And again, what if I was disqualified because of my mental illness or my, felony convictions, and I wasn't allowed in recovery housing? I wouldn't be here today. And every life is important, but some of these lives, and there's some people in this room that have been saved, come back and give to our community and work in this community and help. So I beg of you guys to consider, keeping these and not putting more restrictions on the housing because it's something that's working in our community and saving many lives. Thank you.
And it resets. Please just use the phone. So hold this down until it beeps, and then you go back to number 1.
That's all. Okay, I'm trying to get it to 4 minutes. I know I'm not crazy, and I'm not.
Can we just use the phone timer?
Yeah,
We
let's
have
use
so
the
many
phone
guests
timer.
here.
It's not- I'm just-
We'll figure out this later.
We can try it out during the work session, and we can, yeah. We can figure it out then.
The next meeting, I'll bring out a kitchen timer.
Yeah, please. I'm not crazy. I think I know what I'm doing, but it's not doing it. Yeah, you got it. You got it. Jeff Dean? I apologize for the confusion, but I don't think it's me.
Thank you. Thank you. Jeff Dean from Middle Boulevard. I want to share a metaphor I think will help explain where the people of Middle Boulevard are involving ourselves in the recovery conversation. I would estimate at least 90 to 95% of the people on our street are for recovery. I want to be very clear about that. All of us indeed, sir, have lost people, lost friends, lost family members to recovery. I'm a career paramedic. I've spent my career resuscitating people in overdose situations. I was trying to think of a way to explain how we feel about this, and I came up with this metaphor. I would like you to consider a bus full of passengers headed to a very important destination to them. The driver of that bus is driving illegally, running stop signs perhaps, swerving, driving in excess of the speed limit, and gets pulled over. In the course of that investigation, other things are found about that driver, irregularities perhaps, unpaid insurance, whatever, something else. The bus is not registered. And while investigating, finds out that the bus has not been inspected, the bus is not registered, it's not safe. The people on the bus have nothing to do with their predicament stuck on the side of the road. We understand that. We feel for those people. The people on that bus and that bus are not the only people using the road, though. And so for the process, the safety of all involved, the interest of all involved, rules exist. It is the right of people to ask how rules were and were not followed. And in this case, there are irregularities at the city level and at the level of the processes of these homes that need to be investigated. As a result, if people are displaced from these homes, as I have been asking, I have not been asking for people to be displaced. I've been asking for an investigation into how these homes came to exist as they were. In the course of that investigation, we found irregularities that possibly will result in people who need help, who need that support, I agree, being displaced. If that is true, I am calling on the city to own its part of this. Promises were made. We've heard that from Ms. Adi. We've heard that from Mr. Kitzrow. Promises were made. We haven't found out what those promises are. We haven't found out who made them, and we haven't found out why they came to exist. But it's irregular. And if they were relying on promises that were improper, question mark, I'm not making an allegation, I'm asking a question, and people are being displaced because of those improper promises, the city bears a responsibility to take care of these displaced people. I am suggesting a shared cost to either rehouse these people pending replacement in a treatment facility. These are vulnerable people who need help. They should not be displaced. They did nothing wrong. The fact of the matter is, though, that it is important to have oversight over this industry. There's too much money and too many vulnerable people involved not to regulate it properly. Please, folks, do not assume that the people of Middle Boulevard have not been affected and do not understand recovery. That is an absolute mistake. But we also realize that it is not just about that. We want you to recover. Please understand that. Thank you.
Okay, Rob Chase.
Well, I had some notes on my phone, but I just left my phone back there, so we'll just swing it. So my name is Rob Chase. Am I starting a timer or what's happening here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. All right. I think let's just start with just a quick brief, who I am, how I landed in Salisbury, Maryland. Short version, I'm an addict. And, I found down here through an inpatient facility, right? And while in that inpatient facility, I was desperate. I was destroyed, physically, mentally, beaten, right? Destroyed. And So I did something different. I did something that a counselor recommended to me, and they said, maybe you should try an Oxford house, is what my situation was. It was an Oxford house, a form of a recovery house. That house no longer exists. What has taken over Salisbury since I've been here, I've got 5.5 years clean. So since I've been here, I've watched this community grow and get better and get stronger. And I've been witness to all of it. Like I've seen people grow. I've seen people live who didn't even want to live, right? Like that was my story. When I came to Salisbury, I was mad that I was alive. And that's not the case anymore. Through getting into a recovery house and finding multiple different recovery programs. Like there's not a cookie cutter program, right? Like I don't want to say that there's one way and that's the only way that works, but recovery houses are part of my story. And so with that, I now am a member of this community, right? Like I have family in this community. I pay taxes in this community. I own businesses in this community. And with that, like I want to express that one word that I said over and over, right? Community. When I came here, when I came to Salisbury, Maryland, I felt welcome. And that was from the rooms of recovery. That was from just walking down the street. That was just what I felt like, right? And I decided to stay and I decided to give it a chance because I felt welcome from the very beginning. And I know that if I didn't feel welcome from the very beginning, that I would be dead. Like I know that. And, I have a 3.5-year-old son now, and I have a wife now. Things that I didn't want. Like I was divorced. I didn't want another wife. And I never thought enough of myself to think of myself as a good father. And, today I know because I've done some work on myself, all started in a recovery house, mind you, that I'm an amazing father. I'm an amazing member of this community. And, and as a business owner, coming from nothing, not in Salisbury, like I've been able to give back locally. Small stuff, right? Nothing big, but I don't think it starts at a big level. I think it all starts like, just by doing the right thing on a daily basis. Like that's my recovery program. I wake up in the morning and I make a decision to do the right thing today. And then I do it, and then I do it. And then if I do that properly, I wake up tomorrow, and if I'm lucky enough to wake up tomorrow, because there were times, like I said, I didn't want to wake up tomorrow. If I'm lucky enough to wake up tomorrow, like I'm going to make that decision again. I'm going to provide for my family. I'm going to provide for my kid. I'm going to do the right thing for this community. And like without a recovery house, without treatment programs in general, like that would not have been possible. So just, take that into consideration whenever we're voting on whatever we're voting on. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I have Molly, is it Cottis? Yes. Otis?
Good evening. My name is Molly Kotis, and just to start out, I've worked in this community for over 8 years. I've worked in child welfare, I've worked in systems, and I started my career in 2009 in substance abuse. Those systems that are in place, those systems that have worked, those systems that have failed are not immune to any population, including Middle Boulevard. Every year, this county and our tri-county surrounding areas participate in overdose awareness. Our Governor, Wes Moore, declares a day, a proclamation, and yet here we are speaking out against the very stigma that this county stands up, participates in, takes pictures in front of their signs, and reportedly encourages prevention tactics to fight overdose awareness. Yet here we are discussing how discriminatory acts of a small group of people are harming one of our prevention acts. Calling a group of individuals the derogatory words and actively acting on their fear and their falsehoods is the way that these people have is not only disgusting, it's disgusting how people in this council, in this room, have reacted to it. No person on the right side of history has ever been on the side of hate and fear. Excuse me. Yet again, here we are reacting. Homes for Hope has been functioning in this community for years without incidents that require this type of reaction. Not only are you violating actual laws, but if they win, what's next? What will they ask for next? What falsehoods will they come forward with next? Studies show that recovery houses' success rates at places like Homes for Hope are at 64% successful. Yet again, smile for the pictures while you aren't protecting the actual preventative programs that are in place that have worked in this community that I've worked in, working with these families in child welfare, with substance use, of mental health, and I have seen the success rates. I've seen the families that don't get torn apart, that don't lose the parent, that don't lose the uncle. But we can smile for our pictures. These preventative programs that are working to minimize overdose provide housing to vulnerable populations and strengthen this population to be healthy and functioning and give back to the community the way a couple people have already spoken to. Those are the programs that we need. In short, the fact that we're here, it's disgraceful. And when looking at our families and friends, I'm sure that everyone in this room in some shape, way, or another can say that they have experienced something and they wish that a program just like Homes for Hope had been there for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Is this Tish hiding out there?
Good evening again. I'm gonna try to be quick. Can you imagine being told that you're not wanted or can't live on a certain street? You can't live with certain people because you have a disability. You take it to a step further. Would it anger you if your child or a loved one had a disability and you were told, we don't want you on our street because your loved one is disabled? Why do you ask that? Because it's morally, ethically, and not to mention illegal. We've been operating since 2017 with the cooperation of the city the entire time. We have had their blessing, and we are state certified. We are inspected. Andy Kitzrow put out a note to all of council after the first meeting that it was spoken upon and said that he misspoke. Homes for Hope has been cooperative and proactive in their engagement with HCDD, specifically with the last couple directors. Previous direction and guidelines she was provided was met with compliance. I feel that this wasn't conveyed properly, which it absolutely wasn't. Since July, Homes for Hope recovery houses have suffered discrimination related to their business by both residents on Middle Boulevard and Salisbury City. What does this look like? These are some of the comments, almost word for word. These houses are full of sex offenders. My kids can't play in the backyard naked because your men will be watching them. If these people aren't sex offenders now, how do you know they're not going to be tomorrow? We can't allow these people to infiltrate our city. They're casing my house. Lastly, Middle Boulevard neighbors making derogatory comments as our residents walk past our house to go to work and meetings. These comments are said with fear, discrimination, and hate. It appears that these residents are spewing hate that have been warned that this is a bad look, and they should redirect their opposition from what I stated earlier to Homes for Hope is abusing a vulnerable population. I can assure you that every resident, even the ones we've had to dismiss, would never say that, not one of them. We treat our residents with respect, kindness, compassion, empathy, firmness, and most importantly, dignity, something some Middle Boulevard residents fail to practice. We've made attempts to educate the public and city officials willing to listen, but our words have mostly fallen upon angry and deaf ears. This has become evident when the Middle Boulevard neighbor attempted to assault me during an informational meeting. Homes for Hope is no longer going to sit and listen to the nonsense. We're no longer quietly waiting and watching as our residents' fair housing rights are being violated. Notes posted on doors of our treatment facilities and our recovery houses as if no communication has been ongoing with the city. This has caused stress and anxiety among our residents of the recovery houses and patients at our treatment centers, wondering if they will continue to get the help and supportive housing they need, all while the identical facilities only a few blocks away receive no notices. Our residents, our clients, our staff, and our organization have suffered enough. We find it highly suspect that the timing of the city's unreasonable requests of us are only after the fears, and this is a quote, fear or prejudice of community members arose. Both HUD and Department of Justice recognize this, that this is probably a violation of fair housing. We will continue to operate and serve our clients. We aren't going anywhere, and God forbid those in opposition may need our services for themselves or a family member. We'll be here with open arms to serve you to the best of our ability, and all while fighting for your rights for fair housing. For the Middle Boulevard residents who are educated and not fearful because you know the need for recovery houses and how we operate, we understand your silent support and appreciate you. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Sadi.
I have Dr. Michael Cooper. Cooper.
Don't walk very well anymore.
Oh, well.
And folks, as you have demonstrated, change is possible. Never forget that. It is possible. I'm a criminologist by training. I have worked all over this country. And when I ended up in this part of the country and in Berlin, help me, it's Berlin, yes, indeed. I met Tish and we started to talk. And she has a background in criminal justice. And she wanted to know there had to be a better way when people were struggling with what these folks had been struggling with, about how we could provide some opportunity, and maybe they would really start to look at themselves and what might be done. And so, folks, you've demonstrated it for yourselves. There have been lots of people before you that have come through this process. And Tish, I'm walking on our first one I want to say 19, what is it? Our first one in the county. What?
You need to stay behind the mic because you need to be heard, sir.
Okay. So in 2017, we started with the first house. And we got it done. And it has grown from here. And these people are unbelievably dedicated to it. As a community, you should be very thankful, and I'm so impressed with you folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I'm not sure about this name. I don't know if it's Jerry.
Jerry Olson.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
And as I'm walking up, I'm just looking at a picture of my triple nieces who are going to turn 5 the next month, and my 3 sons as well. Their ages 9, 10, and 13. And they all have their father here, thanks to Homes for Hope, Tish Adi, as well as Brandon over here as well. Came to Salisbury a little bit over 5 years. If you told my parents that their son, who graduated from DeMatha Catholic in 99, The Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, go Buckeyes, that one day he would struggle with the disease of addiction. My father, who's a retired attorney for the United States Marshal Service, my mother, who's a retired civil service worker in DC public schools, would tell you, you're out of your mind. It's unheard of. Doesn't happen in my family. Everyone in my family is successful. Everyone in my family, I was that one person who along the way got lost. And this didn't happen early on or in my teens or anything like that. I went off to college at Ohio State and I came back with a serious problem. And I didn't know how to handle it. And years of fighting it, I finally surrendered. I was sent down here to Salisbury. I came down. They said the only way that we can help you is Wicomico County Drug Court. I went to Wicomico County Drug Court. I made it my mission to change my life and do what everyone else in my family has done, all the way back to my grandfather, grandmother, so forth, so on. I went in there, I did over 250 community service hours, maybe in 2-3 months. I stayed in a house, and if it wasn't for that house, they would have put me in jail, okay? They would have put me back in jail because I did not have a residence at that time in Salisbury, and there was no other recovery houses open or available. Tish went and had the marshals come out, did everything she had to do, and expanded one of her homes. I was sitting at the rehabilitation center and I did not know if I was going to be able to, if I was going to go home, go to jail, or what. And I just dropped to my knees and prayed. And I said, God, look, these kids need their dad. These kids need their dad. And these are young men. Next thing you know, they said, well, Tishadi has a place for you. We're going to bring you out there. I've worked in the community, just like Brian, doing Narcan trainings. I've worked with all types of organizations. But what I really did to push the bar up is I went back to school. I got through Warwick in, I don't know, maybe a year, if that. Now I'm in UMES. I'm a state certified trainer for Recovery Coach Academy through CCAR. And they teach individuals the necessary tools to teach other individuals and assist other individuals in being able to work in this community with other individuals like myself. I will go so far to say you do not have another trainer for this on the Eastern Shore. And this is all product of a recovery house. All products of a recovery house. During the day, I'm a substance abuse counselor. 20 seconds? 30? No worries. During the day, I'm a substance abuse counselor. And there I work with men and women all day long. I called my dad and I called my mom the other day, and they were like, there's no way Salisbury is doing something that is as ridiculous as that. They couldn't believe it. My mom said, huh? The same place you went to get your life together, and so many of your friends and so many of the people in your network, people that are getting out of school, that are seeing their kids and go. Thank you. You have a great night.
PJ Kurtz.
Good evening. I am PJ Kurtz. My legal name is Patty Kurtz. I am an LCSWC and currently proudly work for Homes for Hope as one of their mental health therapists. Every single day, I watch clients walk in that door whose lives have been changed by this agency. They come in broken, many times suicidal, many times they just don't see where the light could come back on. And through their counseling with their counselors, their mental health therapy with myself and 2 other mental health therapists, they put the work in. You know, and it's true, these people could be my kids. They could be my brother. You know, they could be anyone's relatives in this room. And because of Homes for Hope, I have watched a lot of lives changed. And the recovery houses are needed. It gives them structure. It gives them, you know, a line that they need at that point. You know, they know what's expected. They're monitored. They receive mental health treatment. They receive addictions treatment. The recovery houses are a necessity, especially in Salisbury. So, thank you for your time.
Sharon Bishil. Sharon Bishil. Kay Gibson. How are you?
And now I'm going to change the subject. I have some concerns about how the city is spending their money. I really don't think the police department salaries ever need to be decreased to provide an ambassador program. I don't think we need one. I think it's a total waste. I've been involved with one recently. I went on a bus trip to Vermont. We stopped in this small town. And we were going to have lunch. The ambassador program showed up downtown to help us. She gave us a list of the restaurants we could go to. One didn't open till 4. One was closed, and it was almost impossible to find a place to eat. A total waste of space. I think we need the money in the police department, not an ambassador for downtown, and we don't need to be changing designations to get one. Okay. The roundabout, which is really going to tick people off. We don't need to do a study because I want to know how many accidents were at that corner. Does anybody know last year how many accidents? Why we need a change? Then why waste the money? Put the money where it's needed, not on another roundabout. Also, oh, it's lovely. We're going to have a centerpiece with lots of plants. Oh, we're going to take up some of the roadway and put some cement places in and have some more plants. Somebody drive down Isabella Street and see how well the city maintains their plants. They don't. We don't need the cost of maintaining this. We don't need the study. Oh, the money that's going for transportation, here at the back, on, what is it? Oh, yes. Ordinance 2832, okay? They're going to increase the budget for the Maryland Bikeways Program grant account. Increase Maryland Bikeways Program expense account. Do you know how many people are ticked off at the half tires or rubbers that are planted in the street as it is? This you're going to plan to spend money on? If it's for transportation, for bus transportation to get people around more effectively, yeah, do it. Not all of us are going to be able to drive too much longer. I'm one of them. Okay, so it'd be nice to have a good bus system. But if you waste more money on bike paths for maybe half of 1%, you're not being fair to the rest of the 99% of the people that are on the road. Every time you play with the road, you make it more complicated to use. Please, use some common sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandon O'Brien. Okay, thank you. Carolyn Woodmouth.
I'm going to try and really speak up because over there you can't even tell that the microphones are on. 2 weeks ago today, the Open Meetings Compliance Board ruled that the June 20th, 2023 meeting that the Salisbury City Council improperly discussed a contract in closed session. I was among dozens of concerned citizens, business owners, and taxpayers who attended that June 20th City Council meeting and spoke in opposition to Resolution 3263. Despite our public comments and without pertinent discussion, this council passed the resolution. You claim to want to hear from the public, yet your actions on that evening proved otherwise. By moving discussion of a very serious and fateful matter behind closed doors, council members were both disrespectful and dismissive of the very citizens you represent. There was no transparency then. The City Council owes us transparency now. You have both the opportunity and the obligation to correct this unlawful action by releasing the closed session's meeting minutes. A mere admission of your wrongdoing is just a gratuitous soundbite and is simply not enough. Although I have sent each of you an email to this effect, only Ms. Jackson responded. She agreed that transparency has been an issue, and the finding that the council was in violation was even more reason to disclose the minutes. She trusted that the City Council would do the right thing. So do the right thing and give us transparency now. In a related action, this council just adopted a summary of another closed meeting held on July 17th, 2023. That summary revealed that from 5:35 to 5:55 p.m., the attorney representing the city briefed the council why Exhibit E in the land disposition agreement was not included in the June 20th legislation. This 20-minute discussion regarding the absence of an important document in the June 20th resolution raises alarm bells and is highly suspicious. Not only was Exhibit E missing from the legislation that was presented and passed by the council on June 20th, it was also missing from Resolution 3263 that Acting Mayor Jack Heath signed 2 days later. Exhibit E refers to the $10 million parking garage that the city is obligated to build for the developer. This directly affects city taxpayers. Why was it necessary that this discussion be held in a closed meeting, out of the public view, behind closed doors? What is the city council hiding from the public? The July 17th closed session summary only highlights the need to release the June 20th closed session meetings and to be transparent. We need to see the June 20th closed session meeting minutes now. Do you really need to go to the point where someone needs to file a lawsuit? I challenge each council member here tonight to use the time allotted during your council comments to state publicly that you will release the June 20th closed session meetings ASAP. Failure to do so will be viewed as a statement of your continued obstruction and lack of transparency. An election is looming, and transparency will most certainly be on the ballot. Release the minutes now. Don't let your lack of transparency be your legacy. Thank you.
Mr. John Wolfman.
I'm not even going to try to better that summary that my wife just gave, but I will like to quickly highlight the greatest threats to our city from these self-inflicted physical mistakes, and there are two of them. If the city persists to go down a financially destructive path, we're going to be in a situation we won't recover from. The first of the two is this huge negative front-loaded cost the city will fund this for the parking garage. The second is the city needs to recognize the lost city revenue under the Horizon program. We're going to be waiving huge amounts of property taxes and still having to pay a full range of city services for the development. It's going to be big, it's going to be expensive for the city to interface with, to provide services to. So first of all, the front-loaded cost of the city for this parking garage is only necessary to serve the Salisbury Town Center apartments, their needs. There are 222 apartments, they're multi-bedroom apartments. They're going to need nearly all the capacity of the new parking garage. It's not going to be, as some people would like you to believe, or the public to swallow a theory that it's going to serve the business owners, the parking needs of their customers, and a broad range of other parking needs to just minimally sustain the current functions of our downtown. The city will be obligated for a bare minimum of the $10 million principle that's been used as the headline. This is only a capital cost that is very low in its estimate for construction and does not include the interest that the city will have to pay on its physical bond that could easily exceed $1.5 million annually. So over a 10-year period where we get only $440,000 in property taxes from the developer, we're going to be out $13 million in payments to fund this project. If you do the math, the city is front-loading a cost of $13 million. We're only going to get 440K back. So that's a cost that we front load and a return that's 40% times the cost of the project. That needs to be recognized for being totally ridiculous. It's a huge cost burden that will leave a huge permanent physical setback to the city. We're not going to recover that money. The other thing is, when we look at the Horizon program, the city is front-loading, waiving the contractors' taxes. Those taxes are zero for the first 5 years and only 10% of what would be normally due over a 10-year period. The city is at its limits. Our taxpayers can't pay anything more. We have 5 property tax rates in the last 11 years. We are at our breaking point. We can't have another situation where we raid our rainy day fund and our operating expenses just to get through another fiscal year.
Thank you. Nathan Cox.